This video is brought to you in part by the generous contribution of Cybern Warrior through Patreon. More on that later. This is a Daybreak cage, and while it may look a lot like other metal cages on the market, this is probably my favorite cage of all time to ever be made. What makes it really cool is that you can change the crush of the wheels on the Dart based on how you mount the motors within it, which is a really awesome idea. And it would come with a pair of Daybreak wheels which were made and optimized for this cage. The only problem with this now is it is really hard not only to find the cage because it's out of stock everywhere, at least in the metal version. You can make a 3D printed version from Thingiverse, but the wheels are also pretty darn hard to find as well, and there's only 2 locations I was able to find them. That makes it hard in case your wheels break on this, or if you want to get in on the cool action, especially if you want to get on the cool action. For those of you who may have a 3D printed version of this cage, or a metal version of this cage like I do, there is some good news. There is a new flywheel kit on the block from the mind of Drac. These are his Twilight wheels. For full transparency, I did not pay for these wheels, and Drac also threw in a set of his pink special edition versions for compensation for doing this video, and told me to be as unbiased as possible, which is what I feel I already do in these comparison videos, so he's not going to get any special treatment. For those of you who love numbers, this video is going to be chocked full of them. For those of you who don't like listening to me drone off numbers, I'll have timestamps in the description to different segments of this video so you can go around and find the things that you're more interested in. We're going to be going over a little bit of a quality overview, the wheel measurements, the weight, and we're going to be looking at performance in both 2S and 3S in the lower crush and in the higher crush, and then comparing not only Twilights to Twilights and Daybreaks to Daybreaks, but Twilights and Daybreaks to each other in all the different settings that you can do with this. It's going to be chock full of numbers, so I hope you're ready. Strap in. It's going to be a lot of talking and a lot of number droning. Let's get into it. Let's first start off with a look at the wheels up close and an overall view of their quality. Not only do the wheels come in a dark Duskous purple for their standard run, there is some pink versions for a limited special edition run, which are very nice. The machining on them is quite good. The only real marks that I can see are on the top and the underside where you'll see these rings. Everything else is very smooth and looks like it's been polished. It's shiny, it feels very smooth, it's great to see. And in terms of coloring, mine are a little bit not so purpley. It's like a grayish purple, but I like the idea of what Drac's going here, adding his own sort of vibe to it. And the pink looks fantastic. It is very, very colorful, and I love how it looks, and I love a good pink, so I feel like I'm a good judge of quality on the pink color. As Drac explained, Daybreak and Twilight wheels are very close to being same in both inner and outer diameters, with a few tweaks of his own added in. Twilight wheels are an average of 37.91mm outer and 31.78 inner diameter, compared to Daybreak's 37.95mm outer and 31.69 inner. I do only have 2 Daybreak wheels, so it could be even closer over a larger test group. These measurements put the Twilight and Daybreak wheels between the size of the Blaster Forge Ultra Crush and Eclipse wheels. Weight for the Twilight wheels was an average of 8.13 grams compared to the average of 7.03 grams from Daybreak's. This was rather surprising to me, seeing how the Twilight wheels have holes machined into them and are basically the same size as Daybreak wheels. This puts Twilights between the weight of Containment Crew Cyclones and Eclipse wheels, which are both on the heavier side of the flywheel spectrum. Compare that to Daybreak's, which come in between the Hooligan wheels and Bulldogs, which are in the middle of the chart. Before I jump into FPS numbers, I was curious as to what sort of sound changes came by adding holes to the Twilight wheels, seeing how Drac did mention them as being added to both reduce weight and change the airflow and the sound that the wheels make. So I got my shotgun mic out, I put the Strife the same distance away from it for both Daybreaks and Twilight wheels, running on both 2S and 3S. And I've reduced the sound so that this is more comfortable to listen to for headphone users, but I have not touched it with any sort of EQ, so you get the raw sound profile. Here's what the difference was. The only real difference that I can hear personally is a slightly lower tonality with the Twilight wheels. Not only are the sounds quite similar, but they even look similar on the audio graphs. Let me know what you think in the comments, because I want to see if maybe you hear something different. All right, it is time for the FPS readings, and I shot a lot of darts for this, and there are quite some results to go through. So for the sake of time, I'm only going to be talking about the averages here, but I will include the highs and lows on screen. And if you want to see everything, there's a link to the Google Doc down in the description. To get all of this FPS goodness, I used Fang revamps running on both 2S and 3S because you can overvolt the motors. And I shot 100 darts through the wheels before I started chronographing to get a dart residue buildup to ensure better consistency with the numbers. If you are ready, let's get into it. Let's start with the Daybreak cage in the lower crush setting on 2S. Daybreak's averaged 120.43 FPS with waffles, 132.29 with AccuFakes, and 161.54 with Koosh, compared to Twilight's 126.17 with waffles, 132.66 with AccuFakes, and 160.69 with Koosh. That's a difference of plus 5.74, plus 0.37, and negative 0.85 respectively for Twilight versus Daybreak. On 3S, Daybreak shot an average of 128.84 with waffles, 132.33 with AccuFakes, and 162.78 with Koosh. Twilight shot 129.7 on waffles, 133.55 on AccuFakes, and 163.71 on Koosh, making the difference between the two plus 0.86, plus 1.22, and plus 0.93 for Twilight's. When putting the cage together on stream, I was told by the chat that the lower crush setting was the better of the two options, but I wanted to be sure I didn't miss anything, so here are the readings for the higher crush motor setup. Don't be surprised if it's not really worth changing the motors here. On 2S, Daybreak did an average of 112.43, 142.01, and 157.08 with waffles, AccuFakes, and Koosh respectively, and Twilight wheels shot 123.91, 147.61, and 154.14 with the same order. On 3S, Daybreak did an average of 118.61 with waffles, 137.32 with AccuFakes, and 155.84 on Koosh, while Twilight's did 118.63, 138.19, and 158.84 in the same dart order. The difference between the wheels on 2S were plus 11.48, plus 5.6, and minus 2.94 in favor of Twilight's, and on 3S readings were a plus 0.02 on waffles, plus 0.84 with AccuFakes, and plus 3.74 with Koosh darts. And here are the numbers for high versus low crush setups on both 2S and 3S. It looks like it's definitely not worth overvolting Fang revamps for 3S use on both settings, and going high crush should be used for very specific applications. For normal use, 2S with a lower crush setting is best. Before I get to the conclusion of this video, I would of course like to take this time to thank my Patreon supporters of the month. We have Biggs and Z, Scott Tomlin, CJ Aussie Nerfer, Foam Blast, Ryan Cho, Gypsy Stormcloud, and Cybern Warrior. Them, along with all my other Patreon supporters, make this channel run a bit more easily, like having to replace all the darts I shot. I literally ran out of my stash of darts doing this video, so they gotta get replaced. Thanks to them and the other Patreon supporters for making this a little bit easier on my wallet. And if you would like to support this channel through the Patreon platform, go down the description and check it out. You don't even have to go through the Patreon platform. You just being here is support, and I appreciate it. Let's get into the conclusion. As you saw with the FPS readings, both Daybreak and Twilight wheels were shooting very close together. They're basically similar, except for a couple of numbers being a little higher or lower. So that might have you wondering, what is the point of having Twilight wheels on the market other than Drac wanting to do his own little project, or in my case, having more variety, which I think is great to have in this hobby. The main strength that I can find with these wheels is availability. As I mentioned, both the Daybreak cage and the wheels are very tough to find right now, especially the metal Daybreak cage, which I can't find anywhere. If you know of a place to find it, hold on to that place and just buy the cage already. For the wheels, there's only two websites that I could find that sell Daybreak cages, one in Canada, one in Europe, and the starting price is $22 before shipping, which can get rather expensive depending on where you live. If you're in the US and you want something that's available and has lower shipping, Twilight wheels are your friend at $18 on Drax's website, which puts them on the same level as Containment Cruise Cyclones, which I have no problem paying $18 for. I love Cyclones, and I don't think $18 for Twilight wheels is bad at all. For the cage, if you want to buy the wheels and you need a cage, well, you're gonna have to 3D print it. There is a file on Thingiverse that you can get that you'll either need to have a 3D printer for or know someone who has a 3D printer to get your hands on. But if you don't have either of those options, or you want something a little bit different that's not so much an OFP design, Drax does sell Horizon cages on his website for $13, which compared to OFP cages at $12 is only $1 more, so I think the price is completely fine. It's a 42mm crushed cage, and the FPS readings on his website look very nice. I do want to get my hands on one of those cages and do a testing myself to see what I get. And if Daybreaks ever do come back, either the cage or the wheels, I would say it's a win-win no matter which way you go wheel-wise. If they're shooting around the same, who cares if you go with Daybreak or Twilight wheels? If you want to get a couple more FPS out of something, go with the Twilights. If you want to give Drax some money, go with the Twilights. If you want to go with the Daybreaks, go with the Daybreaks. You know, you can't lose. If you want the Daybreak system, you can't lose with whatever wheel you go with. There's no wrong direction with this system if you want to go with this system. Anyways, that's really my conclusion, is just it's a win-win no matter what if you want to go with the Daybreak cage. I want to thank Drax for letting me do a review of his stuff. I like the wheels that he sent me. This video was a lot of work, and if you made it this far, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day wherever you are.